Hello and welcome to lesson number 52 in our current micro series in lockdown 3. It's the 24th of March 2021 and today we're going to be looking at study number 52 in the set of 60 by Feuillard. This study describes itself as one for scales and arpeggios in the thumb positions, and that's exactly what it is. We'll be looking at thumb positions on the top two strings here from a fairly low register for the thumb, looking at being in fifth position if you look at the relationship of the first finger there, with an A major scenario starting point, and we'll be gradually moving up all the way through the 12 keys until you get to A flat major right here at the top. And what we're covering here is the same pattern on every single line in different keys. And so the shape begins with an A major scale, then an A major arpeggio, A minor, and then by one note changing chromatically, we move to a sub-mediant chord of F major, which becomes the dominant for the new key, B flat, and that's how you manage to move chromatically from one key to the next. So from the point of view of the cellist, the interest about this study is the shapes that feel quite large and it can be a little uncomfortable in this lower of the registers we're dealing with, to being so tight and very, very close together at the top, more like you're playing a little toy violin or something like that, in which case the precision is quite difficult and you may find yourself accidentally pushing a little bit sharp. It's quite easily done in this study. It isn't really one for the listener. It's not interesting, but there's the fascination from the cellist point of view about how it's constructed and the general feeling and difference between the very high and the lower register there. You'll need a good strong thumb. If you're not very used to doing thumb position, you may want to protect the thumb with some sort of tape in order to develop good muscle anyway, and hand shape. Other things that are for use, keeping a fairly high left arm here so that you're actually helping to bring weight from above through the fingertips and give you more strength and security than if you were to keep it low, and you can see there you're risking having quite a lack of strength in the hand there. And from the bow point of view, fairly flat bow hair and fairly firm, I would say, to try and keep that buoyancy and sense of strength. Let's give it a go. bit sharp at the ending there, and you can see some of those difficulties. But I mean, as one goes through, if you find that you're making a note that isn't quite where you're expecting the placement, you do have the opportunity on the descent of the scale or the arpeggio to correct it and gauge where the alteration should be from one bar to the next. So maybe it's not a bad idea to sort of consider within this study that an error of judgment, and you can hear where it's not quite what you're hoping or expecting, learn by it. And that's what the whole process of learning this instrument is about. And any musical instrument, don't be afraid of mistakes, we learn by them. If you have actually got to this far and actually listened to this study, which really isn't interesting to listen to, well done. And as a reward for getting to this point, I might suggest to you that if you have an interest, which I'm assuming you do, in scalic shapes and moving up and down in patterns on the instrument, I would say a really interesting one to look at is actually in the book by Lidstrom, of the essential warm-up routine for cellists. And towards the very back of that, in about maybe 10th chapter or something, there's a really interesting move in the lower registers going up 2 octaves in one key, say in C, and down in D flat, up in D, down in E flat, etc. And it really gives you a very interesting insight into the non-consistent and non-universal shaping from one key to the next in that low register. I think that's a much more fascinating one than this. But well done for listening.